Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Kids and Cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number. Oh my god, what's going on with my hair? Gee, got some flying buttresses here. Episode number 775 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Thursday, October 30th. Happy birthday to my friend Bob. Hey there. 2025. And it is a rainy day here at the Beaver Lodge. It started just about 20 minutes ago here, a couple of hours earlier than scheduled, actually, according to the Weather Network. But it's raining, and it will be raining for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. Fortunately, we do need the water. Unfortunately, just because of the days the rain is falling. Kids and Cubs, I get 2 days a week where I have neither rehearsal nor curling, and they are Thursdays and Fridays. Otherwise, all the other days of the week, there's either curling, rehearsal, or curling and rehearsal on the same days. So when Thursday comes along, I'm a little pooped. And I was thinking, well, or just, wanting to have some my own fun or something. So I was thinking, Thursday and Friday this week, I'll play a little tennis and maybe go take a walk through the woods with my beaver sweetie because he likes taking little hikes and there are fall colors and all that kind of stuff, and maybe even, practice some of the dancing for my show out on the deck and back because, jumping and doing spins in the living room or the kitchen or whatnot, um, well, can be distracting for whoever else is there. And, well, there's furniture. So if you land wrong or slip, you can hurt yourself. So there's nothing on the deck. uh, and I won't be able to do any of that because apparently, according to the network, Weather Network, from now until I go to bed on Friday night, there will be rain, 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 yet more rain, still more rain, and more rain yet. It's like, oh. So, yes, I'm going to probably be catching up then on laundry and stuff. Yeah. And probably practicing my singing more than practicing my dancing because at least that I can do inside. Oh well, Mother Nature not cooperating. What can I say? So, um, a little bummed out, but I'll survive. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvinu Publishing, and psychictarot.ca. How's your mental health doing today, kids? Other than being disappointed that I won't be able to do the things that I had hoped I'd be able to do over the next few days, I am doing very well, I have to say. As you can see, I think I've pretty much got back to regular schedule after staying up for inning 17 and then tapping out. Um, so it was 8:30, 7:30, 7:05. I'm getting there. It's catching up. Uh, but no, feeling good. Spirits are good. I am tired though. I will admit, not just sleep tired. Although today I feel good. I think I've recuperated or I've got my best self back on track. I'm just tired. But I mean that's normal for this point in a musical rehearsal. I mean we're the 21 days, exactly 3 weeks from opening. So this is the time where um, you're both having a blast because you're seeing the pieces come together and you realize you've got something really good and it's exciting and it motivates you to work harder and bring it together. But it's also um, uh, there are parts of you that want it to be done already. Uh, Not that you're not having a good time, it's just more um, work and everything, life balance type of thing. Because it's like I said, we're doing this one in 2 months, which is really really intensive. I'm usually used to 3 to 3.5 for a musical, so longer rehearsal period. That's the sort of trade off, right? It's you have rehearsals for longer, so it's part of your life for a longer period, but it might be slightly more manageable. Although the 3 weeks before, whether it's 3.5 months or 2 months, it's exactly the same. At some point, the hours just really, really go up as you're putting the final push and doing the move into the theater, and and then practicing with props and with costumes and with mics and all of that kind of stuff. So it just becomes just layer and layer and layer and layer of complexity keeps on getting added, and there's more bodies and people to coordinate, right? Um, there's just the little groups for a scene or two at the beginning, but now it's everybody to run a full act, and then later on it's everybody and the band and the backstage people, and so it just grows as you go. So there more time is needed because there can be glitches and little speed bumps at various parts, and you have to smooth all that out because there's a whole choreography in a musical that goes on stage for all of you to see, but there's a whole backstage ballet that is going on at the same time, and all of that is choreographed as well, like timepieces. Somebody's coming out with a set piece there, so if you're waiting in the wings to go on, you have to be waiting over here, not there, because at this particular moment, because the set piece is of a certain size and you can't be in the way. And it's a there are places that you can and can't be backstage at certain moments as well, and then there are people that have quicker costume changes, so you have to leave a path clear, and well, you have to do the show a couple of times to figure that out before you go live. So and that takes time, right? Every time you're doing the show, running it from beginning to end, uh, th- that's a certain number of hours, right? And not counting everything that you do before you don't just walk into the theater and start running the show. There's a whole bunch of other things that need to happen first. So yeah, it gets demanding on the time. So so for the 3 months, it's like a longer period of life. For the 2 months, it's sort of like a quick in and out. Boom, you've given a big hit of time for like 2 months, and then you've got something behind you that you can point to and say, "I did that," and have that sense of accomplishment. But it's 4 rehearsals a week rather than 3, for example, um, over the space of 2 full months. I It's a big commitment, especially it's every Saturday and every Sunday, and every Saturday and Sunday is at least 4 hours each. So it's a big commitment. I have to admit. So there's a part of me that is looking forward to getting those 16 to 20 hours of discretionary time back. But not until the job is done because I am having a lot of fun with this. I have to say it's good for the soul. It's good for the soul. So it's worth you know having to be a first class scheduler and time manager. All right, kids and cubs, how's your mental health doing today? Let's take a little look into the magic monitor here and see who we have with us this morning. We have Kit Uncover with the Grizzly joke. Why did Grizzly skip the haunted house? He said, "Why pay to get scared when I can just look in the mirror before coffee?" Oh, I think Mr. Grizzly would like that one. I think he would like that. I think he would approve. We have Kit Elaine saying good morning, everyone. Kit Kat saying good morning, everyone. And go Jays, go. Indeed. We have, who else do we have here in the chat? It just jumped on me. We have Kit Hyper T 007. Bom dia todos, os Blue Jays. Ganharam Oternolte, I think. The typing is a little small here, so that's why I'm having a little difficulty with it. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. Bom dia todos. Os Blue Jays ganaram ontem a noite or a noite. I'm not sure what the end of that means. Kit Carroll says, good morning with a wave. The Breens are here saying hello. Kit Sue's here again 2 days in a row. Hey, good morning to you. Nice to see you. Kit Linda M saying good morning. And yes, getting ahead of me there in the chat, but yes, indeed. A little good news about Canadians who make us proud a little early in the day. The Canadian women's under 17 soccer team, who I believe we mentioned yesterday or 2 days ago, that had gotten through the first 3 rounds of the Women's World Cup under 17 with a perfect record and was in the playoffs, was facing Zambia. I think I'm gentle correction on myself. I think I might have said on the previous show that it might have been Zimbabwe they were facing, but it was Zambia and defeated them 6-0 to advance to the next round where they will be facing Brazil, who also won with a shutout 3-0, their first playoff round match. So, yeah, they are doing so well and go, 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 go. I like that. There's lots of good news from our athletes lately. They're doing us very proud. We have Kit Nona Carol here. We have as well Kit Jillian saying good morning here. And we have among that, yeah, yes, 5 more suspects arrested over the Louvre Museum heist in France, but the stolen jewels still have not been found. And it seems that I've also seen other reports that there are 2 people who have been maybe fessing up a little. So that was a rather brazen type of heist there. I'm sure somebody's going to be making a movie about that someday. We have Kit Tabby G. We have Kit Tom with us today. We have as well in the chat. Okay. I guess that's what means the sentence in Portuguese means the Blue Jays won last night. Yes. More good news. We'll get into that. Kid Jillian says, I am taking my family to watch the party at the watch party at Nathan Phillips Square tomorrow night. Yeah, that's going to be a busy place. Great atmosphere. They're doing stuff here as well, here in Kingston at the Market Square. Have the screen outside and people gathering to watch that. I might do that. I might actually on Friday maybe opt to go to a bar and watch it with a throng of people. I'm not don't usually like crowds all that much, but for this kind of stuff, I do. So I might end up doing that. Kit Wishful is with us. Good morning, they say. And who else do we have here with us? Kit Playing with 3D is here. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, since we are talking about good news, how about them Jays, eh? Oh, wow, that was a good match. I enjoyed that. I had to watch it on delay again because I was in rehearsal for the beginning. But yeah, a great match, great pitching by Savage there. Lasted longer in the match than I think some people thought he might have. Picked up 12 strikeouts along the way, which is very, very good, very impressive. Um, there's a whole bunch of data and statistics. I think there's something like the second youngest person to have accomplished that, or something like that, and or something that's only been accomplished 10 times and not since 2012 or something. Anyway, it was a very impressive performance from him, and of course the bats. were swinging and the runs kept coming in. There's something about this series about getting to 6 runs. It's almost like whichever team first reaches 6 runs wins the game. But yeah, it was a 6-1 victory for the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. Um, Otani wasn't much of a factor, which was also very interesting yesterday. Like great pitching, so you can't uh, be upset with that. Uh, it had to, considering how long game 3 was, the round in game 2, some would say that game 3, even though the Blue Jays lost it, because I think I remember the Blue Jays manager saying, we lost a game, not the series. Uh, the, the Dodgers may have won the game, but it seems it ended up taking out of them. One would think, given the next 2 wins, 6-2 and 6-1 from the Toronto Blue Jays. So yeah, just a great match overall, great performance. Um, I mean, they just really showed up and delivered. There was not much to criticize at all in that game. Uh, Played well, managed well. The relief pitching at the end, solid. The dog couldn't seem to get anything going really, even with hits. The Blue Jays got 9 hits to the Dodgers 4 on that one. So it was just pretty much a dominant performance by the Blue Jays there. So the Blue Jays come back to Toronto, having taken 2 of the 3 away. From what I had been reading pre World Series, the Blue Jays were a better home team than an away team over the course of the season. Was also having some conversation with some curling buddies who know more about it, and we're sitting at the table, we're all talking and saying, like, "Look at me, total bandwagoner, talking about names and statistics and whatnot, like I've been following them all season." They all got a good laugh out of that because I confessed I was a total bandwagon jumper on that one. But we were talking about that, and it seems that the American League was considered to be the weaker of the 2 leagues, and the Dodgers got through their first 2 round opponents of the same league with a sweep. But the Blue Jays, uh, and a lot of people were thinking, like this, the Dodgers are just so dominant, and plus the other league is the weaker league. There's a very good chance that the Blue Jays could be gone within 4. They're returning to Toronto with not one but 2 opportunities to seal the deal at home, and it seems that they are a team that plays better at home, at least based on what's gone on in the regular season. So it's the stars really couldn't be more aligned. And they're doing this without Springer in the last 2 matches as well, because he had that thing in that match where the ball hit his bat and then went that he was swinging and then went right into his leg. So that must have hurt. But they've been doing that without him as well. So yeah, uh, it's it's a great series. I have to say, if you're a bandwagon jumper, this was the time to jump on. So yeah, the next 2 matches are scheduled for Friday, I believe. Is it Friday and Saturday or Friday and Sunday? Um, for some reason, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kits and Cubs, but I distinctly remember reading something that would indicate it was. I have some for some reason I have a memory in my head that it's Friday and Sunday, but that would surprise me in a way because all the matches have been the day after each other in the series so far. But then maybe the stadium was booked for something else. I'm not sure exactly. So don't count me on that. But I know the next one for sure is Friday. See, that's where you can tell I'm that bandwagon jumper because if I was a hardcore fan, I would know this already, like the back of my hand. Um, but yeah, uh, just the two spot homer in the seventh really did uh, seal the deal for the Blue Jays there. Not two spot homer, sorry. The two runs they scored in the seventh. I don't know why I said two spot homer, just the two spot period. I guess I'm just so used to seeing people hit home runs that I said that. But yeah, Blue Jays are in it. They're in it to win it. First time in like I think it is 32 or 33 years that they are in the World Series, and they are, like I said, everything is set up for them to have a great victory at home, and we will definitely be cheering that on. Again, very happy that the game finished at the regular time yesterday. Oh my god. But yeah, still in that match, 6-1, 3 home runs in all in that match. So there was lots of excitement, lots to see, some good plays, good fielding in particular. Uh, Addison Barger did this running catch at one point. That was just so cool. There's a lot of people on the Jays team that are really showing up during these playoffs. I've been impressed with Kirk. I think there was one match he got on base every single time he was at bat. Barger's just literally knocking it out of the park. Uh, right, Guerrero is showing up to play. Um, um, Ernie, can't remember his last name, was is playing better in the postseason than he has in the regular season. At one point, I think he was batting 400 in the playoffs. I mean, these are just ridiculously good performances. People are being treated to some very quality baseball. In addition to the fact that the Blue Jays for us here are doing their thing and doing it well. So yeah, I'm hooked. I'm definitely hooked on playoff baseball, if not regular season. But yeah, I mean, there's 162 games. That's a lot of baseball to watch to get to the good stuff. Uh, yeah, Kid Jillian says, "I miss seeing the first inning, sadly." I did too, when we were, because I can't start the thing until the show starts, and I was literally, um, not on stage because we're not on stage yet, but, in the zone that we set aside, for acting and the wings, we put tape on the floor to sort of, um, um determine what the size of the stage is so we get used to acting in the space even though we're not in the space yet. So I was in that area when the game started, and as soon as it was over I just ran to the phone to start it, and it was already 2-0 for the Jays at that point, or 2-1 or something like that, but I think 2-0 for the Jays at that point. So I missed how the first one happened, and I also missed how the second one happened because unfortunately when you're watching in time delay, you can't do anything to your phone whatsoever, because if by some weird way the phone changes channel, and I don't know why it keeps doing that on me for some reason, which it did, everything that is in that time past disappears. So yes, I was somewhere in the fifth or sixth when that happened, and then I came back and it was in the eighth, and it was oh, there's two more, and I don't know who did it, and I don't know how it happened. It's like darn. But then it was like, well, it's 5-1 now, so I guess that's good. Oh man, what a match! What a match! What a great series. Okay, uh, I hope that there's a lot of. Well, I hope I know that there's a lot of families, parents who may have been around when the Blue Jays won those back-to-back World Series, and sharing it with sharing those experiences with their kids and watching their kids, uh, you know, uh, in this particular moment must be a lot of fun, regardless of the age, regardless of the age of the kids there. So, some wonderful bonding opportunities as well going on with what's going on here. All right, let's get into the meat of the subject today, kits and cubs. We're going to talk about a few things. Hopefully, we'll have time for all of them because I talked sports a whole lot more than I thought I was going to talk sports today, considering that I don't know much about baseball. Um, I'm just so excited. Well, I love it when anything Canada succeeds, right? So I'm definitely in my happy place, having an opportunity to watch this, and of course, with what we have going on with the United States, uh, you know, because I'm petty. Uh, I wouldn't mind seeing Canada uh, win the big trophy in America's pastime, so to speak. Okay, but getting to the meat of the subject, kits and cubs, it seems that my image is stalling now and then, and that's a problem at my end, kits and cubs, unfortunately. Hopefully, the sound is still coming through, despite the fact the image is stalling. And the image is stalling a lot, actually. Um, I'm so sorry. I have no idea what's going on. I've been having a whole bunch of trouble with the restream over the past week and a half. So I'm not quite sure what the cause of that is. I apologize for the lesser quality of the broadcast as a result of that. But on fait ce qu'on peut. We do what we can, right? That's the beauty of live, I guess. All right. Yesterday we were talking about the Bank of Canada economic stuff, and the Bank of Canada uh, about to announce its policy rate. And while the show was going on, the news came through that the Bank of Canada, pardon me, had indeed cut its policy rate by 0.25%, bringing it down to 2.25%. And in the process of doing that, the governor of the Bank of Canada had some words for us about the state of the economy. And I want to show you clips, and I'm a little uh, afraid of doing that because it seems that every time I am changing the screen, it stalls for a good long time. However, I am going to give it a go. And I unfortunately now at this moment cannot see what is no if I'm stalled or not. So hopefully as painless and seamless as possible. All right, let's try. I believe this one here that I was looking at. Um, okay, we'll try this one. I think this one should work for kits and cubs. The governor of the Bank of Canada had some insights as to what was going on, and there's a couple of points that were really important for him to stress. And I see, I'm having the video back to restream, and my screen is completely black. Kits and Cubs, can you tell me in the chat if um, if the audio is coming through all the way through, despite the fact that the image is freezing and stalling? Just so I know, because if it is stalling, then when I'm making the transitions, I'll just stop talking and wait for things to reset, so the audio does not get cut off. Um, so I will wait for you to give me information on that. Okay, I see Kid Chris say yes. I'm gonna guess that's yes, that the audio is fine. The video is glitchy. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Kits and Cubs, because I have no idea what's showing up at your end. I moved from the Restream channel to look at the YouTube channel a couple of seconds ago and noticed I was frozen there too. That's how I knew. But I could only watch one screen at a time. Okay, the governor of the Bank of Canada had some interesting messages here, and important ones that he wanted us to be aware of when he is talking about um, the reason for which the Bank of Canada made these decisions. So I believe you know what? I am going to go to the longer one on CPAC one I had because the audio quality is a little better on that one. Okay, so these are the opening remarks of the Governor of the Bank of Canada with regard to what is happening, and then we'll get into a couple of other things as we go on this one.
His opening remarks, Governor Macklem and Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers will be happy to take your questions until roughly a quarter after 11. Alors, Monsieur Macklem, à vous la parole.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here with the Senior Deputy Governor to discuss our monetary policy decision and our outlook for the Canadian economy. Today, the bank lowered the policy interest rate a further 25 basis points, bringing it to 2.25%. This was our second straight cut and reflects ongoing weakness in the economy and contained inflationary pressures. Today, we also published our outlook for the Canadian economy. Putting those two things together, we have four main messages. First, U.S. tariffs and trade uncertainty have weakened the Canadian economy. We expect very modest growth through the rest of the year, with some pickup in 2026. Second, while this weakness is restraining price increases, the trade conflict is also adding costs for many businesses, putting upward pressure on inflation. We expect these opposing forces to roughly offset, keeping inflation close to the 2% target. And third, to support the economy through this period of adjustment, we have lowered our policy rate by 50 basis points over the last two meetings, by 100 basis points since the start of the year. Finally, the weakness we're seeing in the Canadian economy is more than a cyclical downturn. It's also a structural adjustment. The U.S. trade conflict has diminished Canada's economic prospects. The structural damage caused by tariffs is reducing the productive capacity of the economy, and it's adding costs. This limits the ability of monetary policy to boost demand while maintaining low inflation. Aujourd'hui,
All right, so the point here that is very important for us to remember is that the governor of Bank of Canada is putting emphasis on the fact that this is not just a cyclical downturn, right? The market goes up, the market goes down, there's regular flow to this. There are corrections, there are pullbacks. Recessions are normal things to have from time to time. They're not fun, but the market gets overheated and then pulls back. These things are normal. This is not something that's part of the normal economic cycle, what it is that we are experiencing at the moment. We are actually experiencing structural damage at this point. What the United States is doing to us at the moment is creating some fundamental damage to the structure of our economy. And that's an entirely different beast. And in that situation, there are limits to what monetary policy can do in order to be able to help with that. Uh, so we can't fully rely on the Bank of Canada through interest rates to be able to control what it is that we need to do. Now, there are certain things that it can do and that it can help with, but it alone is not going to do that. And that's some of the commentary that I've had in the past little bit with the Bank of Canada stating that there are certain things that are more of the domain of monetary policy, and then there are certain things that are more the domain of public policy, what's going to be happening in the budget and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that's going to be left up to the government. So, for example, the bank can do stuff for the overall general economy or to stop things from spilling over into the broader economy. But if you want to help the aluminium sector specifically, the Bank of Canada doesn't really have anything in its toolbox for that. So, in his remarks, the governor of Bank of Canada indicates the reason for this structural damage that is being caused to us is because the United States has made a swerve towards protectionism. And this is one of the key parts of what he had to say yesterday.
We have the policy rate only at the lower end of kind of the neutral range. It's not in deeply stimulative territory, and yet your projection for the economic outlook is pretty bad. It's pretty weak. And you talk about the kind of constraints on monetary policy in stimulating the economy when we're going through this kind of structural shift. Can you unpack that a little bit? Why are we not talking about more stimulus from the Bank of Canada when we are talking about a very weak economic outlook and one that, you know, there's going to be permanent scarring from the U.S. trade policy?
Well, the first point, Mark, is we're now at the lower end of our range of neutral. So monetary policy is providing some stimulus. But as I tried to outline in my opening remarks, the role of monetary policy in the current situation is somewhat limited. You know, what we're going through is not just a cyclical downturn. And what do I mean by cyclical? Cyclical means, you know, you go down and you come back up. You go back to your previous trend path. It's not just a cyclical downturn. Part of it is a cyclical downturn. I mean, demand for our products, particularly in the United States, is low. And there's a cyclical element. But part of it is structural. The U.S. has swerved to protectionism. It's harder to do business with the United States. That has destroyed some of the capacity in this country. It's also adding costs. Businesses are looking for new markets. They're reconfiguring their supply chains. That adds costs. So, you know, the fact that is partly structural, and the fact that it's adding costs limits the ability of, or limits the role of monetary policy in boosting demand while keeping inflation low. So, I mean, just to sort of unpack that a little bit more for you, you know, what can monetary policy do? Well, first of all, you know, monetary policy, let me start with what it can't do. I mean, monetary policy can't target specific sectors. It can't target the hard-hit sectors, aluminum, steel, autos. It can't help companies find new markets. It can't help companies reconfigure their supply chains. What it can do is it can try to mitigate the spillovers from the hard-hit sectors to the rest of the economy, and it can try and help the economy adjust to this structural change. But its role is limited because, as I said, this is more than a cyclical downturn. It's a structural change. There are added costs that limits how much we can boost demand and keep inflation well controlled.
So there you have it, kids and cubs. The governor of the Bank of Canada talking specifically of the limits of monetary policy, that it could help us during the period of adjustment, but that it cannot specifically address the drivers of what is causing all of this. Um, yes. Kitlin M here going, I don't see why this was a surprise to anyone. It's been obvious for a while that when your primary trading partner disrupts global trade, it's going to affect your basic economic foundation. Absolutely. But, unfortunately, we have an entire political party and movement trying to say, no, it's not that. It's just the fault of one man. And their inflationary policies. Right? Conservatives don't want you to understand or admit or acknowledge that the fact that things are going, there's part of what's going on here that's us, that we've done and how we've set ourselves up, yes, but there's a whole major component of it that has to do with what someone else is doing to us, and we can't control that. Particularly when have we ever been able to control the United States? Number one, but this particular person, an uncontrollable United States led by a person who can't be controlled and doesn't have much self-control. What the fuck do you do? Seriously. I mean, it's easy to just turn around and say it's all the fault of one man rather than acknowledging reality, which in the reality is we have no fucking clue what to do with this guy. We just don't. I think it was there was a political pundit that was feeling uneasy going onto this terrain, but this is terrain that I've mentioned before. It's the political equivalent of battered spouse syndrome. We're tiptoeing around the house, trying to be as small as possible, make as little noise as possible, like this, not to do anything to displease or provoke or set someone off, like this, and just like walking on eggshells all the time because we're afraid of the next thing we'll do. Yes. And the thing is like we could be doing absolutely nothing and still turn around and find a fist in our teeth. I mean, we got 25% fentanyl tariffs and then an extra 10%. For what? We were literally just minding our own business. And somebody said, hey, you, we turned around and boom. We got punched in the face. And then we have the United States walking around, especially with Ambassador Fuckface, like they're the victims. They threw the first punch. We weren't looking for this. We were happy with our arrangement. Why did you take that? You poked the bear. Why did you do this? You poked the bear. Because what Daniel said at the beginning, oh, Donald Trump just says he wants a little action on the border. Give him what he wants. And it was like this. Oh, well, we spent an extra $1.3 billion. And what happened? We got more tariffs. Right? It's we just don't know what to do with this guy. We don't know how to live next to him. We don't know how to live with him. Right? The best we can do is try to solidify our networks elsewhere, and hopefully fast enough before whatever damage he is hell-bent on doing to us, regardless of what it is that we do, it would seem, takes hold. Like this, and do whatever we can to not make him want to go faster than what it is that he's doing. But there's nothing. There is no plan to control this man. I mean, he just slapped tariffs on us because his feelings were hurt because of a television ad. He slapped tariffs on Brazil because they dared to allow their legal system to determine that their former president was guilty of having staged a coup. He just handed $40 billion to Argentina, which is not doing well, throwing good money after bad, to make it a vassal state, I guess, of the United States. I don't, and he doesn't want us. The other part of it is for example, he doesn't want us to have an auto sector, but it seems that if we can't have an auto sector with the United States and we try to have an auto sector with anyone else, that's not allowed either. Which doesn't make sense. So that not only is there an attempt to uh, structurally damage us, but there's also an attempt to remove our agency. Right? It's not, well, if you don't want to do business with us anymore, okay, that's going to suck and it's going to hurt us like this, but we'll do business with anybody else, with everybody else then. This is no, 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 no. We don't want to do business with you, and we don't want you to do business with anybody else as well. That's not tenable. Right? If we turned around tomorrow and say, okay, well, you know what? You don't want to buy any Canadian cars whatsoever, and you don't want us to have an auto industry, then fine. Hello, China. Do you want to build your EVs over here? Oh no, we can't do that either because that's okay. That's not acceptable. Right? If the United States wants to try and bring back manufacturing and destroy the auto pack and have full manufacturing from top to bottom within the United States to serve itself, that's fine. But we're not forced to buy those cars when they want to export them. And that shouldn't mean that we can't have an auto industry of our own, either finding a Canadian car that we can build that would be of a size and a make that would be attractive to be exported into other markets in Europe, maybe in Asia, or to do more business with the Japanese, more business with the Germans, more business with the Swedes, and with China. So we don't know, and we don't know what will set him off. So it's a situation I don't envy any leader at all, and just a mere thought of conservatives trying to claim, particularly Pierre Poilievre, that he somehow would do a better job or somehow managed to have gotten a win. Basically, we've seen what's going on with the United States, right? The president of the United States appears to respect Mark Carney because he's a celebrity and he's a banker. But the president of the United States, I mean, we've just seen it with Japan, right? He went to Japan, like this, and oh yes, the United States and Japan have such a lovely relationship and long-standing whatnot. Yeah, he goes to the country and he schmoozes and he blows smoke up your butt and pays you a whole bunch of compliments and whatnot like this because he thinks that's the way that you get things done at first. And and if you succumb to the flattery and whatnot, and you give him everything, well, then everything's fine. But if you get all the flattery and then he gets in the room and says, oh, yes, we have wonderful trade relationship. Now I don't want you to have an auto industry anymore. Thank you very much. And you can, hey, what the hell? Then he gets out of that meeting and all of a sudden you're this and that and another thing. Right? Trump always tries the flattering, the smooth guy thing first because he likes to be liked. But the second you say no to him on anything, then there comes the iron fist. there comes the pretext for him to say that the fact that you wore blue to this meeting was offensive to him, and now he's going to cut off trade talks. Or you didn't wear a suit, so you're not getting weapons, for example. How do you deal with this guy? It's like, how do you Trump-proof your economy when Trump is watching and says, hey, I see you trying to Trump-proof your economy. Well, if you're going to do that, here's another kick in the nuts. Right? It's just, I don't envy anybody that task. And to see the conservatives try to purport that they, look at the economic records objectively of both parties when they've been in government. It's like, who performs better? At least in my lifetime. Who's tabled the most balanced budgets? Who has diversified the economy more? Who has, after they were done in office, left us with legacy items? Outside of absolutely extraordinary circumstances like the first global pandemic in 100 years, which parties added to the debt and what did we get for it? Right? Don't just look at the number. What did we get for that money? I remember the Harper years, and what I remember from the Harper years is we got a Canadian Human Rights Museum and tax-free savings accounts. After 10 years. After 10 years of Liberals, we have childcare, we have dental care, beginning of pharmacare, and then a whole bunch of other legislative accomplishments. You have to take a look at what you got for the money at some point. Did they do some good? Did they leave good things behind when they were done? So yeah, to see that party claim that they could do better, and then with a leader that has far fewer skills, the current prime minister, a much smaller network, and the conservatives keep on doing this thing that Mark Carney has no political experience. You need someone with some political experience to deal with other politicians. Like, Donald Trump is not a politician. He's a felon. Masquerading as a businessman first, wasn't particularly good at business, and now masquerading as a politician. Pierre Poilievre has been a politician for 2 decades. And again, if we look at his track record, there are not many accomplishments there. And it's like, in the equation, would I rather teach an experienced politician to be good at economics, or would I rather teach an experienced economist to be good at politics? In this particular day and age, I think the choice is pretty obvious. I would rather have an experienced economist and teach them how to do politics. There is no galaxy, dimension, reality, whatever that you can put me in which I could see Pierre Poilievre achieving better results than Mark Carney. Not only with Trump, but with reorienting the Canadian economy. I don't see the multi-level tiered thinking that I see from Carney and Poilievre. When I listen to Carney speak and he talks about all the elements of this plan, I guess, and I see where the climate competitiveness is embedded. I see where he is using something that could be used for military that would also have economic purposes and vice versa. I am seeing where he is going in new fields that not only allows us to create the actual project, but develop some intellectual property that can then be sold as well. Like, I'm seeing all the layers. I don't see that in Pierre's policies. Cut this tax, cut that tax, cut this tax, cut that tax. We have a revenue problem. Pierre wants you to believe that we only have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. And now Pierre is telling you that the deficit can't be any more than $42 billion when we have somebody south of us creating structural damage to our economy. And that if we want to address that structural damage to the economy, like for example, if we wanted to spend the same things, same amount of money that Mark Carney is spending, right? Nobody asks Pierre, would you not spend that $9 billion on defense? Would you have not committed to the 5% for NATO? Would you not build high-speed rail? Would you not renovate the port in Montreal? Like what of the things that Mark would you have not given the tax cut? Because you ran on giving a tax cut. Would you have not cut the carbon tax? So there's not much that Mark Carney is doing that Pierre wouldn't do. I mean, Pierre is out there saying that Mark Carney has stolen his entire plan. So Pierre is saying that he would be doing these things. So if he would be doing these things but keeping the deficit at 42, what would he be cutting? And what other structural damage would he be doing in cutting that big and that broadly? If it's such that we need to make capital investments such that our deficit goes from 42 to 84, let's say, where does Pierre find an extra $42 billion in cuts in 1 year? All you have to do is look at the costing. This guy's had been leader for over 2 years by the time of the election. He had traveled all over the place. He'd consulted with as many Canadians as he possibly could. He was always traveling at a rally at some point. And the Conservative brands themselves as the party of the economy. He had all that time and couldn't present competent costing. Again, also with more money than God as fundraisers to hire the best possible experts. And if they were to rely on the Library of Parliament, some of the best researchers in the entire country to find the information that they need. There was no excuse for that costing to be as terrible as it was. None whatsoever. And this is the party that wants us to believe that they would be doing better on both tracks, negotiating with Trump, this guy who has the anti-charisma and the personality of a cactus. But does Pierre think that by going into a room and behaving like a mini Trump while he's in the room with Trump would have curried him a lot of favor? Donald Trump doesn't have much respect for people who try to crowd his turf. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't even see why the Conservatives are even engaging in this line of rhetoric because I don't see how it could possibly work for them other than with people who are already predisposed to not liking anything this government does because of the color of the jersey they wear. And that's all the thought that goes into it. But none of what the Conservatives are doing is serious. And yesterday, you had Melissa Lantsman doing a video where she puts a $5 bill through a shredder. Not only is that illegal, I believe, but she's literally showing us that the Conservative Party of Canada would rather destroy money, shred money, than take that $5 and hand it to someone who clearly needs it more than Melissa. She could afford to put it through a shredder, all to make a non-point. Oh my God. It's just, ugh. And now on budget as well, there's I'm not sure where the source of this is. It seems to have come from some newspaper article. And it says here, according to multiple NDP sources over the past few, Conservatives have begun making their own overtures to try and convince enough New Democrats to at least abstain from the budget vote, allowing the official opposition to vote against it without triggering an election. So the Conservatives want to vote against it without even reading it first, but they don't want to have any blame for what's going on. So they're going to the NDP, who they've done nothing but trash over the last 2 years, and say, NDP, why don't you guys choose to look like the people who have supported this budget that we don't want to support, but we don't want the consequences of not supporting it, which is an election? Why don't you take the PR hit of doing it so that we can get away scot-free? After everything that party has done to the NDP over the last 2 years, they still have the unmitigated gall to show up to them and say, hey, would you do us a favor, though? Why? I read the NDP and go, why the fuck would I do that? What have you done for us lately? It's just absolutely unbelievable, this party. All right. So, the Governor of Bank of Canada warning us of structural damage and of limits of monetary policy. There's been some developments with what's going on with Canada in the US. By the way, Donald Trump, who said that he did not want to be talking to Mark Carney for a very long time. Well, it seems that they exchanged some words. They had some conversation. Apparently, it was very nice at the APEC. About what? Who knows? But it seems the communication channels are not as closed as one would want us to believe, according to Tana McCharles. She says, despite Donald Trump's decision to cut off formal talks with Canada, the channels of communication are open, including between Prime Minister Mark Carney and the U.S. President, said Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman. Testifying to a Senate committee, Hillman said that Carney had some exchanges with President Trump in Asia on Wednesday at an APEC leaders dinner. And then Trump had posted this big thing, we're not going to see Canada, but apparently they had some chat. PML officials declined Wednesday to detail whether those exchanges centered on the ruptured trade talks, but said they did talk about the Great World Series. Hillman suggested they are not yet talking trade. However, she told senators the relationship and negotiations can eventually get back on track. And this is one of the things with Donald Trump. As much as he hates you, unless he really, really hates you, like happened with Justin Trudeau, there's always a way back. I mean, look what he did to Marco Rubio during the election campaign, and now look where Marco Rubio is in the Trump administration, right? Trump does have the ability to conveniently have a short memory for these types of spats if it serves him. At the very top, those channels of communication remain open. I've had exchanges here with a number of my contacts in the administration. My team has also been having contacts. They're not expressly on trade negotiations because people have been advised by their leader that that is on pause right now, but we have a lot of different things we can talk about. Embassy personnel are talking to counterparts at the U.S. State Department, the Department of Homeland Security, the White House, the Energy Department, and the Environment Department. Quote, all of these are still happening, including right up to the most senior levels, said Hillman. Quote, so this relationship is strong. It is resilient. There's so much that we're doing together. The channels of communication are open and we will get back to it. And you know why we'll get back to it? Because it's in the interest of Americans and it's in the interest of Canadians, Hillman said. Appearing via video conference from Washington, Hillman told the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Trade that before Trump suspended talks, quote, important work had been done to reach an agreement, but we weren't there yet. Trump ordered a cessation of negotiations because of an Ontario anti-tariff advertising blitz last week. Until then, trade negotiators met almost daily to discuss steel, aluminum, energy, and at the Americans' insistence, she said. Hillman said Canadian negotiators nevertheless raised autos and lumber tariffs at every meeting. Still, Canada agreed to narrow the initial discussions in the interests of getting some gains as fast as possible, she acknowledged. And that's one of the other things that came out. I was listening to other commentary, and I believe it was the Prime Minister that was saying, don't make the mistake of the fact that we're talking about certain sectors now lead you to believe that we've abandoned other ones. It's more about sequencing than anything else. Or maybe it was the ambassador. I might see this later in this article. But it was more about the order in which they're going to do it rather than having given up on sectors specifically. Let's see, what else do we have? The ambassador denied that meant that negotiators agreed to punt talks on autos and lumber to much further down the road, as industry leaders had feared. Quote, oh, there we go. It's right here, the next paragraph. What was lost in the way that this has been characterized or discussed publicly is that it is one to the exclusion of the other, and that's not exactly what's happening, said Hillman. It's more of a question of sequencing, at least in the U.S. eyes, and the U.S. is saying we would like to sequence it this way. Quite frankly, Canada wants to get as many points on the board as fast as we can, and we will. We will do so by meeting them where we are. Challenged about why Canada has a higher overall tariff rate than Mexico, which one senator pegged at 4.7%, Hillman said there isn't much of a difference. At the beginning of September, she said the weighted average tariff applied to Canada was 5.6% after exemptions for CUSMA-compliant goods were considered. The ambassador repeated Carney's declaration that, quote, Canada stands ready to pick up and build on that work when the U.S. is ready to move forward again. Hillman said Trump seeks advice from a lot of quarters, including his allies in Congress, and, quote, there are people who have the president's ear, but that doesn't mean he will follow the advice of any single person, she said. He follows his own advice. He listens and he makes his decisions on his own. Okay. I know we're talking about Donald Trump, and this is the ambassador of Canada, and there's a little bit of flattery here saying he follows his own advice. Following your own advice, I would venture, is not following advice. If it was advice I was giving to other people and I was not following myself, that would be one. And then I did start to follow. Okay, I can understand following my own advice, but I have thoughts in my head about what would be, and I'm just going to do that, regardless of what anybody else says. Is not following your own advice, but that's a very diplomatic way to put it. I love words. Oh my God. Quote, every country is trying to find an approach that works for them, she said. On top of specific sectoral tariffs, Trump levied overall 25% border emergency tariffs on Canada, later bumped that up to 35%, even after Canada dropped its digital services tax. And last week, he said he would impose an additional 10% tariff on Canada due to the offending Ontario ad. However, Canadian officials have said there's no clarity on when or how that 10% tariff will be applied. Trump in Asia this week, when asked when it would come into force, gave his typical clear answer. We'll see. Hillman noted that the vast majority of Canadian exports to the U.S. remain for now exempted from the overall tariffs if they comply with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Agreement's rules of origin. And then this was interesting. In an interview last week with the Star, Jean Simard, head of the Aluminum Association of Canada, said that with metal prices now more realistically reflecting Trump's tariffs, quote, in the coming weeks and months, the U.S. manufacturing sector will feel the full impact of the tariff. Trump has slapped 50% tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum imports using a national security provision that acts as an exemption to the Continental Free Trade Agreement. At first, American companies were drawing down their inventories at pre-tariff prices. Then they chose to take a loss instead of passing on price increases to consumers. But now, or soon, that will not be sustainable, Simard said. Quote, "Pain is on their side, time is on our side," said Simard, a phrase he repeated Wednesday at the Senate committee. "We tell the government of Canada, take your time, because the American economy needs to feel the full impact of the tariffs, which are starting to materialize in the manufacturing cycles, which are acquiring the metal that costs 50% more than it did during the summer. That is what will put pressure on American administration in the coming weeks and months, and it will allow Canada to be better placed in the negotiations." So here again, this is the head of what is it again? He said, what is it he's the president of? The Aluminium Association of Canada, uh, saying some of the things that we've been saying on the show, to take the time, let the internal pressure work its way through the system. Um, so, yeah, interesting to see some members of the manufacturing sector saying that, because a lot of the discourse that we've heard up until now is like, we need to move fast, we need to move fast, get this done fast. And this one is take your time. And the interesting thing about Trump cutting talks off with us is because it, and I heard somewhere like Trump said, like, I don't want to talk to him anymore. And, he didn't foresee talking to us until January. And it's like, you do Trump should realize that we are hoping for the midterm things to also imply some pressure on the other time, because that's what we did last time with the Kuzma negotiations, and that's what pissed Trump off with Chrystia Freeland, is because he saw that she was kicking the can down the road until such time as the midterms, and he really needed a deal by then, would put a squeeze on him so that we didn't have to give up as much as Trump wanted us to give up last time around. Well, why would we follow a different playbook this time around if it worked so well for us the first time? So by Trump saying that he doesn't want to speak to us about trade at all until January, I'm sitting there and I'm going, fine, keep helping us out. That's 2 months closer to November of next year. You don't want to talk to us? You want to just give us 2 months of time on that clock? Yeah, there might be some extra tariffs, but you just want to hand us 2 months of time to run down that clock by not talking to us. Oh, we're heartbroken, devastated. Whatever will we do? 2 months not having to micromanage you? Whoops. My thing went out. There we go. Hopefully I didn't disappear from your screens, because the entire screen went blank on me. So yeah, shocked, disappointed, heartbroken. Whatever will we do? Not having to micromanage you and all of your emotions for 2 months, freeing up all that time to talk to a whole bunch of other people to make deals. Oh God, yeah, such a horrible fate. No, we're really broken up about it. Really. He's giving us what we want. Okay. Things being stable for 2 months with nothing changing is not the worst thing in these circumstances. I'm just saying. The Canadian aluminium industry ships about 2.7 million tons of metal to the US on a yearly basis, or about 52,000 tons a week, about 80% of what Canada makes, he said. The industry has diverted some product to Europe and Asia, however, with pre-tariff inventories in the US depleted. Metal prices have increased once more on the commodities market to reflect the tariffs and higher demand, Simard said. So the United States is getting hit both ways, right? The tariffs are now in place, so the material costs 50% more and their inventories are depleted, so they have to pay that price. But now there's also scarcity. So because they had bought all that aluminium before it was stored and they were using that, so there wasn't much demand for the supply. But now that all the inventories are run out and they're going to need to be fully supplied, Well, relative to what was the situation during the entire time they had stocked inventories, there's now increased demand for the metal, which means the price goes up as well. So they get dinged both ways. Ken Cobden, representing the Canadian Steel Producers Association, told senators the steel industry is not in the same position to quickly pivot as aluminium can. For one, the U.S. relies on Canadian aluminium far more than it does Canadian steel. Also, U.S. producers support Trump's tariffs and believe Canada and Mexico are backdoor entry points for cheap Chinese steel. She urged the government to tighten border controls and tariffs against cheap foreign imports and to institute rigorous Buy Canadian steel policies at federal, provincial, and municipal levels. She said the steel industry cannot pivot overnight, but would be able to make up to 82% of all Canada's steel needs in time with proper government support. So there you go. Very interesting developments there as well with regard to what's going on with Canada and the United States. Other things that have been going on between Canada and the United States, it seems that even though there seems to be a thaw with Donald Trump and Mark Carney personally, they've exchanged a couple of words, even though maybe not about trade, with regard to his ambassador to Canada, Ambassador Fuckface. Well, it seems that he has lost complete and total mastery of himself. It would appear that Ambassador Hoekstra um, delivered a profanity laced dressing down. I'm guessing, given that there was so many witnesses, that it happened somewhat in public. And it has made the news all over, and it has generated some response. Investor Hoekstra is not particularly popular here in Canada. Not particularly popular anywhere he goes. He wasn't very popular in the Netherlands either when he was appointed there the first time around. But according to Robert Fife, the American ambassador to Canada delivered an expletive-filled dressing down to Ontario's representative in Washington during an event in Ottawa on Monday, according to two sources who said the tirade focused on anti-tariff ad commissioned by the province. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra confronted David Patterson, a former General Motors auto executive now working as Ontario's representative, at the annual Canadian American Business Council Gala at the National Gallery of Canada. The sources told the Globe and Mail that Mr. Hoekstra began to swear at Mr. Patterson over the Ontario ad, which has riled up U.S. President Donald Trump. The president cited the ad as the reason he abruptly canceled trade talks with Canada last week. He later threatened to impose another 10% tariff on Canadian goods. The Globe is not identifying the sources who were not authorized to discuss the matter. The sources say Mr. Hoekstra was loud and using expletives as he railed against the Ontario commercial in front of more than 200 invited participants, many of whom were prominent U.S. and Canadian business executives. The ambassador was overheard saying Canada was close to a tariff deal on steel, aluminium, and energy, but that Ontario Premier Doug Ford had scuttled that goodwill. U.S. Embassy spokesperson Ariel Pollack declined to comment, as did Mr. Patterson. Mr. Hoekstra hung up when the Globe called his personal cell phone. Okay, so Ambassador Hoekstra, who we know does not have the ear of the president, and who we know is not in the room when the negotiations are taking place, based on what Ambassador Hoekstra, he himself, has said, appears to be trying to gain the attention of the president again. Because if the president is mad, then what better way for Ambassador Hoekstra to show that he's on the president's side and doing the president's good work than to show up at a public event and boorishly attack our trade representative and try to humiliate him in public in front of 200 other people at an event. Now, I'm hoping that the other 200 people at the event were decent people and saw Ambassador Hoekstra's behavior and said, "What the fuck? You're a diplomat. This is definitely conduct unbecoming." Mr. Hoekstra is stunting, hoping to get the attention of the president. Unbelievable. Monday's CBAC event is off the record and included a fireside chat with Dominic LeBlanc, the minister responsible for the Canada-US trade. Canadian ambassador to Washington, Kirsten Hillman, gave a toast at the event, but Mr. Hoekstra declined to, according to a third source, without direct knowledge. Couldn't even be bothered to participate in the toast. The Globe is not revealing the identity of the source who was not authorized to discuss the private event. The Ontario ad, which cost $75 million, featured pro-free trade remarks by former U.S. President Ronald Reagan. It had 11.4 billion impressions over the past week, and you know that because Doug Ford doesn't stop saying it at every single turn. It had earned 11.4 billion impressions over the past week through earned media such as news coverage and social media. An ad impression is the number of times an advertisement is shown to users regardless of whether they click on it. Mr. Trump originally said he would have run the ad as well, but later called the Reagan remarks false and announced an immediate end to trade talks with Canada. Later, he said the U.S. would impose another 10% tariff on Canadian goods when the ad was not immediately pulled on Friday. Mr. Ford did pull the ad on Monday, but allowed it to run during the first two games of the World Series over the weekend, which apparently set off the mercurial U.S. president. Mr. Ford went on U.S. TV shows Monday to defend the ad and said that Prime Minister Mark Carney had viewed it before it aired, and that was probably a piece of information that was best kept to himself. See, the thing with Doug Ford is that if you give him a script and tell him to go out and be on Team Canada, he might be good at that. But when he's freelancing, he does things like he did on that ABC News interviewing threw Mexico under the bus again, and then starts saying, well, yeah, the Prime Minister saw it. He was okay with it. So, stop running your mouth. Stop running your mouth. You volunteer too much. In Tuesday's question period, the House of Commons, the leaders of the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois pressed Mr. LeBlanc to confirm whether the Prime Minister had seen and approved of the commercial in advance. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, why? Why would you, if you're the Conservatives and you're the Bloc, why would you do that? Why would you want it just publicly answered whether the Prime Minister has seen and approved? The Prime Minister doesn't need to approve the ad. It's the government of Ontario that's doing that. The government of Ontario is allowed to put out whatever ads they want. God knows Danielle Smith does, regardless of how it displeases the federal government or is unhelpful. There's no federal approval. But why would you ask that? You want somebody from the federal government to come around and said, yeah, we did see and approve it. And then what good comes from that? That's so dumb. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre demanded to know why Mr. Carney would not have pressed Mr. Ford to stop the ad if it was going to endanger a trade deal. Yes, because Mr. Poilievre, again, completely forgetting that things happen in order and sequence. Number one, how would you know that the ad would endanger a trade deal beforehand? You don't know. Number two, Donald Trump first came out and liked the ad and said he probably would have done the same thing himself. Then something happened. Had Donald Trump's first reaction been, oh my God, I hate this thing, because Pierre Poilievre might have a point. But given that it's on record and everybody knows that Trump actually liked the ad first, until he didn't. Somebody got in his ear and told him not to. This is a dumb question from Mr. Poilievre. Quote, he has a duty to say whether or not he saw the ads he say blew up the so-called deal he had. No, he doesn't have a duty to say that. Not at all. Our government is committed to doing the serious work necessary to get a deal with the United States, Mr. LeBlanc replied, but he declined to confirm or deny that the Prime Minister or his staff had approved the Ontario ad. When Mr. Poilievre says that Prime Minister Mark Carney has a duty to say whether or not he saw the ad, that Mr. Carney now says blew up the so-called deal he had, Mr. Carney didn't say that either. There's no video or audio of Mr. Carney saying that the ad blew up the deal. There's video of Mr. Carney saying that the government of Ontario made a decision to put out an ad, which is a strategy that the federal government did not do because it seemed obvious to it that it was not the thing to do. You can infer from that. But Mr. Pierre Poilievre of the I didn't say Justin Trudeau should be in jail. When he did not say the words Justin Trudeau should be in jail, but everything he said in the answer only leads to one possible destination, Justin Trudeau being in jail. If those ethical things were indeed violations of the criminal code, as Pierre claims, they are not. And if there was enough evidence to warrant an investigation that went further than what the RCMP did, which there was not, and if those things led to criminal charges, which they didn't, and so much so, and so obviously terrible things that these criminal charges could indeed be proven beyond a doubt in court, but they weren't because there wasn't even enough to warrant a fuller investigation. And had Justin Trudeau been found guilty in a country where nobody seems to be found guilty ever of this type of stuff, even if all those other conditions were met, even after all that, where does that end up with? Justin Trudeau in jail. The Prime Minister said here is that these ads, we chose not to develop this strategy to put ads in the United States because it was obvious to us it would not be helpful. It's like, oh my God. Our government is committed to doing the serious work necessary to get a deal with the United States, Dominic LeBlanc replied, but he declined to confirm or deny that the Prime Minister or staff had approved the Ontario ad. Asked Monday at the closing of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Malaysia whether the president's scuttling of tariff talks was prompted by the Reagan ad, Mr. Carney replied, I would suggest you take the president at his word for his reasons. Speaking to reporters at Queen's Park on Tuesday, Mr. Ford was asked whether the federal government had approved the commercial. Quote, they know what I was doing, and I said I was going to stop it on Monday. It was very successful. There are other newspaper reports that have come up to say that Ford and Carney did talk and that Mark Carney did tell or ask or request. I don't know what the verb is there, that Mr. Ford do pull them. So it would seem that the Prime Minister did say something, according to some news reports. Asked about Mr. Carney's comments that Mr. Trump should be taken at his word as to why talks stalled, Mr. Ford said it's up to the Prime Minister to meet with the U.S. President. That is not a response. I can tell you one thing, if it wasn't this, he'd pick something else that he wasn't happy with, Mr. Ford said. Negotiations have been going on month after month after month. We need to sit down and start focusing on it, in my opinion. I'd take no deal instead of a bad deal, and President Trump wants to annihilate our steel sector, our manufacturing sector. He wants to take the auto sector out of Ontario and life sciences sector, and we have to stand up and fight for the jobs here in Ontario. Mr. Ford said the Prime Minister, quote, text messaged me a few things since Monday. I wonder what. Asked whether Mr. Carney is happy with him, Mr. Ford said, quote, he's happy. Why wouldn't he be happy? We're his closest friend and ally, just like the U.S. Oh my God, that's a terrible quote. Okay. Is Mr. Carney happy with you, Doug Ford? He's happy. We're his closest friend and ally, just like the U.S. Have you seen what the U.S. has been doing to us lately, Doug? That's not allyship. If you are as close a friend to Mark Carney right now as the U.S. is to Canada right now, may I suggest you're not much of a friend. You really need to think through your folksy stuff, buddy. It's not working for you here. Last week, the Globe reported that a trade deal on steel, aluminum, and energy could be ready for Mr. Carney and Mr. Trump to sign at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea later this week. That's unlikely to happen now unless Mr. Trump has a change of heart when he arrives at APEC on Thursday. And it seems I still don't know when his talk with Chairman Xi is scheduled, but the one between the Prime Minister and Chairman Xi, I have since found out, is scheduled for Friday, the first day of the summit. So I'm not sure if that means that the Prime Minister is getting in to see the chairman prior to the President of the United States. But if it's on the first day, there is indeed a chance of that being the case. So, yeah, Doug Ford did turn around and not demand, um, very heavily suggest that Hoekstra apologize to our trade representative, Mr. Patterson, for his behavior, according to the CBC. This is Arthi Thayaparan from CBC. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra's I'm having trouble today. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra's expletive-laced tirade towards Ontario's trade representative was, quote, absolutely unacceptable and unbecoming of an ambassador, said Premier Doug Ford on Wednesday. It comes days after Hoekstra was seen in a heated rant toward David Patterson, Ontario's trade representative, at a Canadian-American Business Council event in Ottawa on Monday, multiple witnesses told CBC News. Sources at the event spoke with CBC News on the condition they not be named. The heated exchange, allegedly laced with F-bombs, mentioned Ford by name and appeared to have been spurred by Ontario's anti-tariff ad that ran on television in the U.S. until Monday, something that has infuriated U.S. President Donald Trump, allegedly. While Ford doubled down that the ad was the right thing to do, he urged Hoekstra to apologize to Patterson and get negotiations back on track. Pete, you've got to call Dave up and apologize. It's simple, said Ford at an unrelated news conference on Wednesday. I get heated sometimes, but just call the guy up and bury the hatchet. Ford said the ad was his way of fighting back against multiple attacks by Trump toward Ontario and Canada. What do they expect me to do? Sit back and roll over like every other person in the world? He said, adding the video was, quote, successful with over 11.4 billion impressions. Quote, so why doesn't the president start being nice, play nice in the sandbox to his biggest customer in the entire world and everything's hunky-dory, Ford said. The intention of the ad was not to, quote, poke the president, but to start a conversation, quote, and wake up the Democrats, Ford said. The ad features an anti-tariff speech by former U.S. President Ronald Reagan, which Ford said is a stance the well-known Republican leader spoke about on several occasions. Quote, Ronald Reagan is telling the truth. A tariff on Canada is a tax on the American people, he said. In spite of the conflict, Ford called Hoekstra a good guy who he had made a bet with for the World Series with the loser wearing the winning team's jersey. And Trump turned around saying, I like him, but he really needs to apologize. So we'll see what that gets. But right now, I'm just seeing the ambassador, Pete Hoekstra, is determined to be the ugly American and to interact with us that way. This man has not had much anything kind to say about us, and definitely does not have the demeanor of that which we would expect from an ambassador. I really would love to see nothing better than us sending him back home. But if we did that, we know what would befall us. Again, walking around on eggshells for fear of what he might do if we stand up for ourselves. The thing with the ad, right? It's like I said, we were talking about it yesterday. The timing may not have been great. The timing may have been particularly bad, actually, considering. But then again, Doug Ford does have a point. What is he supposed to do? Roll over just like everyone else in the world? The ad might have been something he needed to do quite a while ago, rather than mere days before the APEC summit. Maybe. But the point of the ad and the point being made and how it's done and all that there's nothing wrong with any of it. In normal times and normal circumstances, this would be okay. We would probably have some behind the scenes conversations from the Americans like, gee, why did you do that, man? That's not cool or something. But it wouldn't have risen to this. Not with, the madman of mango. Oh, boy. Okay. So, another thing that has happened, however, and this might be something, uh, this might be something um, that plays in our favor over the next little while, has to do with the manner in which this is playing in the United States. Um, the ad has definitely attention to the situation between Canada and the United States within the United States, but it's not necessarily an issue of pressing concern for the American citizen yet. However, about this to actually make polling on the subject somewhat worthwhile. Donald Trump is having big trouble in the United States, even with his personal numbers. Um, he's got the highest disapproval rating he's had so far. And according to Ipsos, Trump is underwater on a whole bunch of files in the United States, uh, a whole ton of them. Epstein, healthcare, trade negotiations, his tariff policy, um, pretty much anything that you can think of at the moment that Donald Trump really seems to care about. His approval numbers on those subjects are low. And, pardon me, I have to cough. Sorry. I was hoping to be able to get to the cough button before I did. There we go. There is some polling from CNN's reported by CNN that came out recently that I would like you to take a look at because there's some polling not only about Trump but about Canada itself as well, and how things are playing in the United States, and it seems that Canada is well, we are not unpopular and unloved. Let's put it that way by the American people. So please, kids and cubs, enjoy this.
in the minds of the American people?
No. No is the simple answer. I mean, I think that Americans have moved more against tariff than any other major Trump policy that he's been pushing during this second term. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we just look at this? New tariffs on imported goods. You go back to November of 2024, the majority, 52%, were in favor of it. Look at where we are now in 2025, in the fall of 2025. 60% of Americans are opposed to Trump's tariffs. So we're talking about a 4-point margin in favor, switcheroo now to a 20-point margin against. And of course, there was all this news coming out of the World Series, right? Canada tariffs. We're not just talking China, we're talking Canada and tariffs. And get this, we're talking about just 36%, as I look at my little footnote here on the bottom, who support new tariffs against Canada. So the bottom line is this: if I were advising President Donald John Trump when it comes to his policies, I'd say step off the tariffs, at least from a political point of view, because the bottom line is it doesn't sell with the American people. It's one of the largest shifts that we have seen during Trump's second term in office.
Yeah, I mean, the difference here might be that the economy has not greatly improved, and they're sort of seeing that this isn't going hand in hand. All right.
Okay, so some interesting numbers there on the overall trade policy with regards to tariffs, you see that there's a 24-point swing to the negative between November 2024 and now. But when we're talking about how many of them support tariffs, 40%, but how many of them support tariffs on Canada, even fewer, 36%. All right, let's keep going.
How Americans feel towards our Canadian neighbors. Longtime friends, they're always considered to be the nicest people.
Yes.
What are they feeling now?
So, picking a fight with China is one thing. Picking a fight with Canada is just something totally different here. So what are you talking about? Net popularity in the United States. Well, Canada is far more popular than Donald Trump is here in the United States. Look at this. The net popularity rating of Canada is plus 49 percentage points. Look at the net popularity rating of Donald Trump here in the United States. It's minus 10. We're talking about Canada coming out nearly 60 points ahead on the net popularity rating versus Donald Trump here in the United States. When you pick on Canada as the United States president, you are picking on a country that the American people adore. They adore Canada. Canada has always been a friend to the United States, at least during our lifetimes. And when you're going after Canada, you are going against someone who is far more popular than you are with Donald Trump. Pretty much every single time among most Americans, Americans will choose Canada over Donald Trump, yet Trump has decided to pick yet another fight with somebody or some entity or some country that is more popular than he is.
Any president would love to see that number under their name.
The last president that had this type of number was George W. Bush back in the early 2000s. No president has come anywhere close to how popular Canada is right now, and Donald Trump certainly is a long, long, long away. He cannot see Canada from his house when it comes to his net popularity.
All right,
rating.
let's reverse this.
Okay. So, kids and cubs. We're looking rather good, aren't we? We've done our hair. We've done our nails. We've shaved our legs. And, well, it seems that we are very, very popular in the United States. Much more popular than he is. That certainly won't make him happy. All right, let's keep on going because we're looking at this from the other side now. We're going to see how we feel about the Americans.
How do Canadians feel about the United States?
They think that Donald Trump's a big hoser. That's what they think. They hate Donald Trump. They hate everything that he's doing. Canadians who say America is an enemy or potential threat, look in 2023, it was 7%. Look how high it's gone now. We're talking about 48%. We're talking about a nearly 48-point jump. And the Trump administration, my dear friends, has a net popularity rating in Canada of minus, get this, 58 points. So Americans love Canada, but Canadians no longer love the United States of America. Sarah?
Oh, Canada.
Oh, you went over there. Look at that.
Oh, Canada. I ran away from you because I don't want the Canadians mad with me. Thank you so much, Harry Henton.
Bye.
All right.
So, yeah, there you go. We're not all that keen on the United States. And indeed, some recent polling by Angus Reid has indicated that Canada views the United States as less of a friend and ally to us than we view China. Let me repeat that. Canadians view the United States as a bigger threat to Canada than China. All in a couple of months. Donald Trump ruined all of that in less than a year. Kits and cubs. According to that Ipsos poll I was talking to you about, Trump is underwater on crime, on immigration, on foreign policy, on prescription drug policy, on national politics, on employment and jobs, on rule of law, on international trade, on corruption, on the U.S. economy, on healthcare, on cost of living, inflation, and Epstein. Ouch. Now, meanwhile, it seems that we're looking good to the United States, but at the big international singles bar, which everyone's cruising, Canada seems to be particularly popular. While the Prime Minister of Canada is going to be in Korea, he is going to be visiting the shipyards of the company in Korea that is one of the two finalists to build our submarines. We recently told you also that Germany and Norway have been talking to us because the other bid comes from Germany and they are working with Norway and they are selling us there on the um, operability, interoperability of ships between our three nations that would make one of the most important submarine fleets in the world. Um, so there has that. It seems that um, there is some attempts from either side to keep on sweetening the deal, which is kind of good for us. The other thing that has happened, however, is that we are talking about the F-35s lately, and Saab in Sweden has made a move that is very, 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 very clever. It would appear that the good people of Sweden have determined that in the fight between Ukraine and Russia, excuse me, I had a burp just come out there. In the fight between Ukraine and Russia, um, that of course they're on the side of Ukraine, right, having joined NATO and all of that, but that they would be quite willing to donate, not donate, to earmark 150 fighter jets, 150 to Ukraine. And there's this little article that came out from the Canadian press that says, is there an article? Yeah, Kyle Duggan of the Canadian Press. Swedish aerospace giant Saab is considering Canada as a place to assemble Gripen fighter jets as it moves quickly to ramp up production to meet demand from Ukraine. Saab CEO Michael Johansson said in recent interviews with financial news publication that Kyiv's interest in purchasing more than 100 Gripen fighter jets would double the defense company's production needs. The Financial Times and the Reuters news agency reported Johansson said in recent interviews that the company is searching for ways to expand production, possibly in Canada or elsewhere in Europe. Industry Minister Melanie Joly tells the Canadian Press this is welcome news and says she's been working with Saab to see what can be done for more partnerships with Canada. Efforts that began with the Global Eye surveillance plane jointly manufactured by Saab and Bombardier. Sweden and Ukraine signed a letter of intent last week in preparation for an export deal that would send up to 150 Gripens to the war-torn nation, though a contract has not yet been signed. While Saab has production lines for its Gripen jets in Sweden and Brazil, it said jets could be built and maintained in Canada when it pitched Ottawa on its Gripens as a replacement for the CF-18. So when you put those two little elements together, it seems here that what Sweden is suggesting is, hey, Canada, you have the largest Ukrainian diaspora in the world outside of Ukraine, and you've definitely opened up your country's arms to Ukraine during this particular fight. I mean, other than the United States, Canada is the country that has dedicated the most money and resources and everything to the fight in Ukraine of all the partners. And we see that you're in the market for some new fighter jets. Canada, if you would be so inclined to get some of those fighter jets from us, we would be. We just happen to have this potential contract to build 150 of them for Ukraine, and well, we don't seem to have a place to build them right now. Um, it would be really, really convenient and so appropriate, given how much you've opened your arms to Ukraine, that Canada would be a base for building those planes for Ukraine, especially if you happened to, oh, I don't know, maybe order a couple of your own along the way. Clever. Clever, 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 clever. Very clever, Sweden. I like the way you play the game. We should take the deal. By the way, we should really take the deal. Oh my God. So yeah, Germany's calling, Norway's calling, South Korea's calling, Sweden's calling. We're looking pretty good, I'd say. Mm, that new cream rinse we've tried is really working for us. Mm, just sitting at the bar, sipping a martini, minding our own business. People offering to buy us drinks here, there, and everywhere. We're popular all of a sudden. We're cool. People like us. We're the hottest single at the bar. We were dumped by our man. Said we had nothing he needed. Turns out we have a lot that other people want to need. We're desired. Canada's getting its groove back. Could say. It's very exciting. All right. Kids and Cubs, that is the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, kids and cubs. And also, please share a little bit of yourself when you're doing that. If you would like us to help you because you are on the go and making things happen, but you want to remain abreast of what's going on in the world, thanks to the Ray Girl, you can do that, kids and cubs. And you can do that by going to our pod page or scanning that QR code that just appeared that will bring you there. Podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, zip right into your podcast feed. It waits for you. Pick us up. Take us with you. We are lightweight and portable and aerodynamic. All the good stuff. You can take on the day and stay informed with what's going on in the world. Get your daily dose of beaver. If you would like us to help, if you would like to help us, I should say, then Kids and Cubs, we can definitely use your help by you taking your e-surfboard and making your way on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, like nearly 27,000 of you have so far. Like, share, and subscribe are our buttons. Please give them a click. Kids, Elaine, and Cassie would approve, and it helps us with the algorithm when you do, and it also makes us very happy to see our numbers go up. So thanks for that. And Kids and Cubs, if you are able and so inclined to support us financially, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, we would be very grateful to receive your support, Kids and Cubs. And we are very happy to announce that we did receive a little support yesterday from Kit Chris with a very, very kind word that's a little more of a personal nature. So I won't share it here with everyone, but a very, very kind word. So thank you for the kindness, both in the tip and, of course, in the words exchanged. I Like I said, we build community here. It's what we do. So if the good effects of building community happen to have helped, that makes me very, very, very happy in my little beaver heart. So thank you, good sir, for your support and your encouragement. It means the world to me. But your kind words meant even more. They put a lot of sunshine in my day that I'm going to carry through my day with me, even that it's going to rain. So, Kids and Cubs, if you would like the Breens or like Kit Wendy or Kit Chris, support our efforts, we would be very grateful to receive the support in the form of a contribution to the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. So if you would like to keep your favorite beaver moist, a couple of loonies or toonies in the tip jar, when they hit the bottom, makes a lovely melodious sound. And it helps us keep this show going for you. And we thank you for all of your support. Of course, we have Super Chat and memberships in the YouTube. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, our email address is truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, where you can send a direct sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit, direct donation to us that avoids the CE Tech Bros taking a cut and ensures that we get 100% of your donation, Kits and Cubs. So it goes further. And thanks for that support, Kits and Cubs. Because democracy is something that you do, we have municipal elections in the province of Quebec on the 2nd of November and territorial elections in Yukon on the 3rd of November. So please make sure that you plan your vote and don't let friends do democracy alone. As usual, Kits and Cubs, we also have House of Commons petition number E6679 or E-6679, I should say, to be more precise. And we are at 38,857 signatures at the moment. And for that, I will include some information here in the chat for you, kids, that you may share this. It's a petition to encourage or incentivize greater honesty within our elected representatives at the federal level to try and find a way to prevent them from deliberately spreading misinformation and consequences for it they do. That is very important to you, Kits and Cubs. It is important to us. Mr. Gris and I have signed already, and we would definitely love to see you add your signature to that. I'm going to include it in the chat here for you. And of course, my screen has stalled once again, which is why it seems that I'm seeing. There you go. And you can take a look at that, Kits and Cubs. I believe, since I said I can make room for another petition, now that we have a couple of things off our docket with Forever Canadian being taken care of. Kit Linda, I believe, sent us this one. And this is a petition about ownership of Canadian media. And you know how we feel about that, Kits and Cubs. So yes, it is a brand, well, not a brand, but another one here. It's petition E-6821. And this petition says, whereas Post Media, one of Canada's largest media companies, is controlled by Chatham Asset Management, an American hedge fund playing, I think it should say playing a key part. It says placing here. A key part of, oh, sorry, it is correct. Sorry. Let me try that again. Post Media, one of Canada's largest media companies, is controlled by Chatham Asset Management, an American hedge fund placing a key part of Canada's news media under foreign influence, whereas foreign ownership introduces perspectives shaped by American political and cultural priorities, which often do not reflect Canadian values or concern, whereas independent Canadian journalism is essential to democracy, ensuring accountability, accuracy, and representation of Canadian voices, whereas foreign control risks skewing news coverage, undermining media integrity, and eroding public trust, and whereas other countries such as Australia and France have established policies to safeguard domestic control of media, providing workable models for Canada, we, the undersigned residents of Canada, call upon the House of Commons and Parliament assembled to pass legislation requiring majority Canadian ownership and control of print, digital, and other non-audio-visual news media to protect Canadian sovereignty, ensure journalism integrity, and guarantee that our media reflects Canadian priorities and values. I am definitely down with that. And when Kit Linda sent it to us, I had signed that one immediately as well. So, Kits and Cubs, if you believe that Canadian media should be by Canadians and for Canadians, representing Canadian interests and telling Canadian stories from the Canadian perspective, then this is a petition I very much urge you to sign, as we have. And Kits and Cubs, we would be very, very grateful for your support on that front. So far, 4,373 signatures on that one. It opened October 21st, so it's recent, and it will keep going until February 18th. And Vivienne Lapointe, Liberal Caucus from Sudbury, is the Member of Parliament who helped authorize the petition. And the petition was initiated by Beverly Wood from Nanaimo, Ontario. And hopefully, Beverly Wood, there's somebody here that knows her, or she will hear of this, and maybe she too would be able to come on the show, like Mr. Sanchez has, and talk about the petition and why it is that they started it, because we would be very happy to have her if that was indeed the case. All right, that's the democracy something we do portion. Um, Words of wisdom, kits and cubs. Um, I don't really have any for you today, to be totally honest. I'm trying to think of something witty having to do with, um, if you make hay while the sun shines. I'm not sure what you're supposed to make when the rain pours. So, but I guess my best words of wisdom is, when you can't make hay because the sun is not shining, uh, try to make something else. I don't have anything. Here, there you go. If you can't make hay, make pay. There you go. Or play, right? When the rain is pouring. But yeah, that's, in other words, just try to make the best of a bad situation. I guess would be, well, the shorter form. I was just trying to find a clever way to put it. Kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And at the count of three, yeah, Kid Julian, you know what? You are right. You are absolutely right. Words of advice. Go Jays go is good enough. I agree. Go Jays go. That's my words of advice. I like that. Thank you. You saved me. And I appreciate that. Kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kids and cubs, at the count of three, could you please say, Mr. Beaver, cue the cock on 1, 2, 3? Oh, I hear you. And I also see in the chat, Kit Steve says that he has signed petition 6679. Thank you, sir. And that, in combination with your glorious invocation of my service, how can I resist? You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, just a little bit of news about Canadians who make us proud and cubs. Over the course of the weekend, there was a very important swim meet in Toronto at the Pan Am Centre, and it's a World Cup swim meet, I believe it's called. There are 3 events on the circuit, mostly North American. And unfortunately, Summer McIntosh was not able to participate because she was feeling under the weather. But despite her absence, Canadians piled up 12 medals, including 5 golds over 3 days of competition at the short course swimming World Cup finale in Toronto. Olympic medalists Josh Liendo and Ilya Karun led the way with 4 medals apiece in the 25-meter pool at the Pan Am Sports Center. Liendo struck gold 3 times in the men's 100-meter butterfly in both the 50 and 100-meter freestyle, and added a bronze in the 50-meter butterfly. And I think in one of them, he set a world record, I think in the 50-meter fly, short course record at the same time. In the process, Karun won a pair of golds in the 50-meter and 200-meter butterfly and a silver in the 100 fly and a bronze in the 50-meter free. Leandro might have the 50. It might be the 50 freestyle, not 50 fly. Sorry, that he scored that world record. Mary Sophie Harvey was Canada's other multi-medalist, winning a silver and a bronze, while Taylor Ruck won a silver and Finlay Knox bronze, packed up one medal apiece. Caroon finished with a Canadian high 12 total medals, including 7 gold on the 3-meet World Cup Tour, which has also had stops in Indianapolis and Chicago. The 20-year-old placed fourth in the men's overall standings, while Liendo, 6 medals, 3 gold, was ninth. Hungary's Hubert Koss took the title with 9 golds. He won the men's 50, 100, and 200-meter backstroke events at all 3 meets. That's impressive. While adding a silver and 2 bronze in the 100-meter IM. Harvey, 2 silvers and 1 bronze, was Canadian best at 14th in the women's overall chase. American Kate Douglas won it with 9 golds. She swept the 100-meter freestyle, 100-meter breaststroke, and 200-meter breaststroke events at all 3 meets. Also very impressive. And a pair of silvers in the 100 IM. As for McIntosh, the 19-year-old Canadian superstar told CBC Sports' Devin Haru that she's back in the pool and feeling great after a harrowing couple of weeks that caused her to miss the entire World Cup Tour. Summer said she woke up with a severe headache 2 days before the series opener and was in and out of the ER a few times as doctors struggled to diagnose her. After tests for the flu, COVID, and mono turned up nothing, she underwent a spinal tap to look for viral meningitis. Thankfully, that came back negative, but complications from the procedure put her on bed rest for more than a week. Girl, I feel you. I had a spinal tap myself, and I had complications as a result, and same thing. Forced bed rest for more than a week. In fact, on an inverted bed where your head is actually down so that spinal fluid could keep on pouring towards the brain rather than the other way around. I had never experienced more pain in my entire life than when I realized there were complications from the spinal tap. Literally, it felt like my brain was resting directly on my cranium rather than in the fluid and just floating happily there. And that can happen for about like 3 seconds maximum before you are screaming bloody murder. It can be very painful. Quote, the timing really sucks because I wanted to compete at the World Cups and especially wanted to do that last stop in Toronto and swim in front of a home crowd, McIntosh said. But I'm just so happy to be back in the water and now slowly getting back to things. So, on the curling front, reigning Brier champion Brad Jacobs and his Canadian team closed out an undefeated tournament by defeating 28 Olympic gold medalist John Schuster 7-3 in the men's final of the Pan-Continental Curling Championships in Minnesota. And on the women's side, back-to-back world champion Rachel Homan lost the gold medal game 7-6 to China's Rui Wang, who avenged her defeat to Homan in last year's final. So, some good results there. Silver and bronze, gold and silver there. Canada lost 3-0 to the United States in the final of the International Para Hockey Cup in the Czech Republic. Declan Farmer scored twice for the Americans, who have won this tournament all 4 times since its creation in 2022, and they will try for their 5th consecutive Paralympic gold medal this winter in Italy. By the way, fewer than 100 days until the opening of the next Winter Olympics. Very excited about that. And the alpine skiing season has started for those who are fans of that, with an opener in Austria. The opening giant slalom on the women's circuit had Val Grenier finishing 11th in the race for Canada. And there was a Grand Prix figure skating stop in China last weekend, but no Canadians competed in that one. Also, if you are a CFL fan, the matchups have been determined, and I believe the first matches are on Friday, if not mistaken. No, Saturday, sorry. Hamilton finished first, and they will face the winner of the first round matchup between Winnipeg and Montreal, and that will be Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And Calgary will be visiting BC at 5:30 for the right to travel to Regina to face the Rough Riders in the other division final there. All right. I think that's everything I got for you on that front, kits and cubs. So I'm going to wish you a beaverific day, Amour et bisous. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.